I have been looking forward to making this video for a couple weeks now, ever since I found out I was going to be able to cover the Deity S Mic 2, and I knew that I was going to put it up against the Sennheiser MKH 416 because there's been a lot of people who have given their opinions on it. There have been a lot of speculation that the Deity S Mic 2 can go toe-to-toe with a microphone 3 times its price. Welcome back to the Rebel Tech channel. I'm Justin, and in this video we're going to be covering the Deity S Mic 2 versus the Sennheiser MKH 416. Two very popular shotgun microphones in the production world, in the content creation world, and seeing if that budget shotgun microphone is up to par with the legendary Sennheiser. So let's get into the builds. What you're going to find out, it's very easy to talk about this because they're pretty much the same microphone as far as the build is concerned. Now, as far as the dimensions, I'm going to give you one answer because they're the same exact size. Both these microphones are measuring out to be 19 millimeters by 250 millimeters, which is also equivalent to 0.75 inches by 9.8 inches. Now, as far as the weight, this is where they really differ. That little bit of weight, you notice it. You notice it in the way that you feel it. If you feel these microphones side by side, you notice that the Deity is heavier. But when you see the weight on paper, you're like, oh, 20 grams? That's not that much. So that being said, the Deity mic is weighing in at 198 grams. And the Sennheiser is weighing in at 175 grams. So 23 grams? Really, is that big of a difference? As I said in the Deity video, when you're using it on a boom pole, when you're using it on a mic stand, you're not going to notice it. It's not that big of a deal. But if you're holding them side by side, you're going to notice a weight difference. So my opinion on the dimensions and the weights, I give a little bit of a upper hand to the Deity because heavier usually means more durable and can handle a little bit more. But I'm not going to give it that much credit. I'll give it a little bit of a nudge to leaning towards that way. But as far as like handling and everything like that, I've used the Sennheiser for 4 or 5 years now, or 3 or 4, whatever it is now, but a couple of years. And I've never had a problem with it. I've dropped it a couple of times and it's still working pretty good. So I won't hold that against the Sennheiser, but I will let you guys know that it is heavier, which usually means it's more durable. That's really the only difference between the two physically. Other than that, they're the same size, same everything. Let's get into the frequency response. We're going to go side by side and show you what the differences are. Now, of course, you can hear these things and you can hear the difference, but sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's more helpful to see a graph to represent those things that you're hearing. So let's start off with the low ends. On the Deity, we got a bump in the low ends right around the 60 hertz. On the Sennheiser, on the other hand, has a natural cutoff that goes down starting from about 100 and then going off and lowering to about 50. So I don't think that's a big of a deal because chances are you could either throw a low cutoff in your recorder or in post, and chances are those things that you're picking up, you're not missing anything. So if you have it or if you don't, you're not really missing anything because a lot of those can be rolled off, rumbles and things like that. Back to the Deity, as we go into the low mids and the mids, you notice that it starts to lower down, a little bit of bump around like 200-ish, and then dips again around 3, and then is fairly flat and just nice in the midsection. But it's not as nice as the Sennheiser. The Sennheiser is flat as a pancake. And really, all I can say about the Sennheiser is it's going to be flat until it gets to 2K. So let's go back to the Deity. And in that time in between the mids and 2K, you notice that it rises up from 1K to 2K. Little bit of presence in the high mids. That's all it is. Sticking with the Deity, you notice that it's fairly flat in the highs, to be honest, and right around 11K, it dips off into the abyss. On the Sennheiser side, you notice that it's boosted pretty much the same way, same kind of way, but maybe a little bit more in the 5 to 10K. It's being boosted, and then of course dips off into the abyss, into the highs. Now, an overall thought on the frequency response, like the weight differential, I gave a slight edge to the Deity. I will give a slight edge to the Sennheiser because it's more flat. It's not as bumpy, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a difference. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is a quiet session. Just going to be quiet. We're in my little semi-treated studio room, but I do have laundry going on in the other room, so this would be a good test to see what the background noise rejection is. Maybe you won't hear it. Just let me know. I'll boost it and let you know in the post in the corner or somewhere around here. Okay, so you may have noticed the washing machine going off and a rattle go off. Maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't. I'll know in post, and you'll know when you're listening to this. So let me know. I haven't added anything, any post, no nothing. No EQ, no noise reduction, no nothing like that. So now that we got all those tests done, we talked about the specs, the frequency response, the build, everything like that in the studio area. We got 3 more places to go. We're going to the booth. We're going to an untreated room, and we are going outside to test these, which is probably the most important thing with these microphones, because a lot of times with a shotgun microphone, you're going to be using it in a treated room, mildly treated like this, or a booth, or you're using it outside. With that untreated room, I'm interested to see the phase delay affect these 2 microphones. All right, so we are in the booth with 2 shotgun microphones, one 3 times as much as the other. I was in here literally like for 5 minutes before this, switching between the 2 and trying to figure out which one I like better. And that's saying a lot. So now I'm listening to the Sennheiser, and I don't know. It's tough. This is a lot tougher than I thought it was gonna be. Ooh. Of course, yes, I'm listening live. I got that one out. And it's gonna be a little different than actually listening to it in post and through processing and boosting and getting it up to the proper levels. But for a 3 times more, $350 to $1,000, I don't know. I'm very, very nervous because, oh boy, I might piss some people off with this video. Woo. I don't know. I've listened to some videos. I even watched Boot Junkie's Mike Delgadio's video on both of these. He did the same exact video, and oh man, ooh. So back to the tests, back to the booth test with the Deity and the Sennheiser. You guys let me know down in the comments what you think and which one you think is better. I'm having a tough time with this, just so you know. This is not easy. This is literally like my reaction, like instant reaction to how good this microphone sounds in the booth. What we're going to do right now is we're going to do a plosive test with the pop filter, and then we're going to put windscreen on, windscreen off, all that stuff, as I have done in the past. So, Deity, Sennheiser, Deity, Sennheiser. All right, so we have the windscreens on right now. We're going to do a plosive test. Now the Deity, the Sennheiser. These are situations that are extreme. These are not like typical plosives and typical use of the microphone. A lot of times with these microphones, you're going to have it up a little bit further. Good it's a good thing to do. Let's put it up and possibly in a more traditional axis. Like we're gonna do off-axis stuff, but I want to test just up higher and in a emulated situation as a boom. I can't get it that high. the microphone stand doesn't go that high, so this is what you're gonna get, a little bit higher. Maybe a different tone because of my not being, I'm speaking up as a more up than I was before. So these are situations where you would be using it to do ADR or anything like that in content creation, anything, and using these microphones. And I'm switching over to the Sennheiser, listening to the Sennheiser. Obviously, I don't know what it is. Yeah, you notice it. You notice the difference. Let me know down in the comments. I'm listening to the Sennheiser right now, and I noticed that it's got a more natural tone. I feel like it's more fitting to someone's voice. And at 3 times more, you're going to notice that. But if I was to go to the Deity now, I feel that it's almost coming off a little muddy. At least right now. I don't know what it is. But you guys let me know down in the comments if you noticed any major differences. We're not talking just like typical tone, typical sound of the microphone, but major differences in lows, mids, and highs. One last thing, off axis, and I'll keep it there because why not? We're going to do 90 degrees, flip it around, and 180. So now we're on the Sennheiser side and closer to the Sennheiser, about 90 degrees, about 6 inches away, maybe 7, depending on how you look at it. And this is going to be the rejection, and I'm a little bit further away than the Deity, so keep that in mind. But now we're going to go over to the other side, and I'm about 6 inches away, maybe a little less. Now I'm about 6 inches away from the Deity, and a little bit more to the Sennheiser. This is going to be a rejection of the microphones. So if you're ever in a booth situation, know that it's going to be rejected like this. All right, so we're right behind them. I'm going to move them. Okay, literally right behind them. And you might hear a little bit of pickup, but not in like the sense of picking it up traditionally. Picking it up in the sense you're going to hear me, but not crazy. Putting me through a bunch of walls or whatever. You get what I'm saying. I'm gone loopy. This has broken me. This comparison, this broke me. I'm a broken man now because I don't know. I'm not going to be okay for a while. This is an interesting test. And here's the thing. Do I notice a difference? Obviously. The Deity is not as warm and it's not as natural. So if I was to switch to it right now and get a good like in-moment thing, it has some nice low end and it has some nice presence. But I feel like it needs to be tuned a little bit in the EQ. Can you get it a little bit closer? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a test in the future. Maybe see if I could get the Deity to sound like the Sennheiser. Okay, so as you may have imagined, this is the untreated room, the not so treated room. There is an area rug below me. As I pointed out, this is my old room where I started my content creation journey, making gaming content. And of course, now I'm down in the studio, and the area rug below me is a big addition to anybody's recording of audio. If you have a hard surface, like a wood floor or tile, for example, putting a soft surface like a rug could help a lot. Now, of course, there are plenty other things to consider: reflective walls, pictures, drywall, other stuff, glass behind me. a lot of reflective surfaces. Having trouble talking today. The next thing we're going to get into is off-axis rejection. And on this side, which I'll go first, is the Deity side. This side is the Sennheiser side. And then I'll do behind. Alright, so we are 90 degrees closer to the Deity. And this is going to be your off-axis rejection. I'm about a foot, 2 feet away. Maybe like 3 feet from the Sennheiser right now, and this is going to be the off-axis rejection for both these shotgun microphones. Now on the other side, on the Sennheiser side, I'm about 2 feet away from the Sennheiser, about 3 feet away from the Deity, and this is going to be your off-axis rejection for both these microphones in a untreated room, or very poorly treated room, I guess would be a better way of saying it. I'm about a foot, now 2 feet away from the rear of these shotgun microphones. Of course, you have a slight pickup on these with the supercardioid pickup patterns. So keep that in mind when you're using these microphones, because there could be rumbles, there could be things in the ceilings like ductwork to muffle noise and bring noise in. That could be a problem to your production. Okay, so there's your test with the off-axis and untreated room sound you're going to encounter. And of course, this is just one example of an infinite amount, and I'll do my best maybe in the future to cover more areas you might encounter. But until the world goes a little bit more back to normal, I can't promise anything right now. Okay, so we have the Deity and the Sennheiser with both windscreens on, the provided ones, the foam ones. And this is going to be an interesting test with it being cold. And obviously, the next section is going to be one with a blimp and one without. Switching it and telling you how the blimp is a better option than this. So, you'll look forward to that. You also notice that it's a lot lighter out than I did that before. Don't ask questions, just understand that that's how the sequence of this is going. And the wind is whipping, which with these foam windscreens, you're not going to get much help when it comes to rejecting that wind. You need something more fluffy to muffle that windscreen. So muffle that wind. Can't talk. But you can hear me, and you can notice the rejection of noise, possibly one better than the other. You guys let me know down in the comments which one you think is better. I'll know when I'm editing this, and of course, no noise suppression, no nothing. This is all natural to the microphones. From my experience with the Sennheiser, I know it does very good and is very good at rejecting those noises. Of course, it has its limitations, so keep that in mind. Probably the Deity has a little bit more limitations, but I don't know for sure. I haven't used it in the field as much, or pretty much at all, because I've only had it for maybe a week now, and tested it as much as I could, so trying my best. Alright, so we have the Deity with the blimp on and the Sennheiser with just a foam windscreen on outside. And this is going to be a test between the two microphones, seeing how one deals with a windy situation like we have right now with a blimp, and the other one without. And then I'm going to switch both of them and have the blimp on the Sennheiser and the foam windscreen provided on the Deity. Alright, so we have the Deity with its foam windscreen on, and the Sennheiser now has the blimp on with the dead cat on top of it. We got some windy environment. We got a windy environment on here. I'm cold and my hands are starting to lose feeling, so I'm trying to keep them as warm as I can. In this situation, this is where the Sennheiser will be having more rejection of the wind, and the Deity has less because of the lack of fluffiness or lack of a blimp around it. Highly recommend using a blimp. I can't say that enough. I can't say enough good things about a blimp. It really does save you in situations like this. So this is what you're going to hear, comparatively speaking. Can't talk today. And just like I said, background noise, all that stuff. I'm leaving it all in. I'm not cleaning up anything. So this is real world stuff, real world things you might encounter. And yeah, pretty much it. So yes, that was the Sennheiser versus the Deity S Mic 2. And of course, I prefer the Sennheiser. I gave the Deity back to my friend. But I feel that you can make up for a lot of those missing tones in post and get a lot more out of that Deity than the $350 price point makes it out to be. It's a great microphone, good for voiceover, good for field work. All around great microphone. It's not the Sennheiser, but it's also not $1,000, so keep that in mind when you're making this decision. So thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please hit the like button down below. And please leave comments, ask questions. I want to talk to you guys about these microphones because it's a discussion that I am very passionate about. I'm very intrigued by these two different styles of microphones, being a budget and a more high-end professional microphone. And of course, if you want to ask me things more directly, I stream on this channel every Wednesday and Saturday, sometime in the afternoon. Keep an eye out for the posting of the time. I usually put it up in the morning sometime when I'm going to stream. Later on Wednesday, earlier on Saturday. And that's about it. As always, be safe, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.
What you doing, girl? Oh, you... Ooh. Naughty nurse. It's not... I'm gonna call her a nurse. Going for the alliteration. But no, she's a nun. Actually, the alliteration would have worked that way, too. I'm just dumb. You see nothing.